Hey there, everyone. This is Ill Factor from beatacademy.com. Thanks for visiting the channel and taking the time to watch this video. I want to share some tips that can be helpful when mastering your own music. Now, if you're just getting started with music production and you're just starting to learn how to produce your own music, mastering could be a overwhelming task for you right now. I totally get that. It's an essential part of the overall music creative process, from the song idea to the recording to the arranging, the songwriting, vocal melody, vocal production, overall production, then the mixing, and then the mastering, so that that song that you've been investing all that time and energy in meets the sonic standards of a commercial release. Now, if you're looking for an in-depth walkthrough of all of that process from song idea to the mastering, I do go in-depth, step-by-step in all of the courses I have available at beatacademy.com. So visit that site so you can get an in-depth look of what that process looks like, and I can help you take that next step forward with your music. So I just want to share some practical tips that I've picked up on by having award-winning mastering engineer Dave Kutch, that I picked up a couple insights and some practical things when I had him master one of my previous records that I produced. Now, I always say that there is obviously an essential place for mastering engineers to do what they do best and having them involved in your projects. I'm in no way, shape, or form saying that these techniques that I'm going to be sharing with you or mastering your own music in general is always going to replace someone who just excels in that space. The same way, you wouldn't want to hire a musician who plays maybe the trumpet, and you have the option, well, I could just pick up the trumpet and play it myself. Granted, it's going to take some time for you to develop the skills and the nuances that an expert with that instrument can excel in. So anyways, with all that set aside, these are more just like some practical things that, as you are in the process of kind of getting at least your rough demos or your final mixes, and you want to take an approach of mastering and get them, sounding clean and meeting the standard commercially of other released music, then I think this will help you. So the first tip is I always don't master in my mix sessions. What I mean by that is, as I'm working out the mix of my projects or getting the final blend of my mix, I essentially just export that mix. I don't try to get that mix loud. I get it to where I think the mix should be at, making sure that I'm not clipping, obviously, digitally distorting my master bus. And then when I do, I export that. And you're looking at my screen, what you're seeing is Studio One. I normally work in Ableton Live. And I like using Studio One as my mastering platform. And I do this for two reasons. A, it's a whole nother ecosystem. It's another world. DAW-wise. So it's not that there's tools in Studio One that you can't use in Ableton. This is like, okay, I want my mindset to be in a completely different space. Now, you don't have to have another DAW. You could use the same DAW. But I do want to stress the importance of exporting your mix, opening up a new session just dedicated for mastering, and then importing that track into the mastering process there, and not trying to master in your mix session. And the temptation there is, okay, if I'm trying to slap on a couple limiters and a bunch of stuff on my master bus, I can always go in the mix while I'm doing that and tweak. Doing this exercise, exporting your mix and bringing them into another session where you don't have the ability to tamper with the mix, gives you this sense of commitment of saying, okay, if this is all I have to work with. And then obviously you can always go back to your mix and tweak after you've done a couple little things here with your mastering process. Go back to the mix and then tweak it. And that's the learning process, right? So that's the process of learning and understanding what you need to do. All right, enough rambling. So that's step number one. Export the mix, bring it into a brand new session. I like personally going into Studio One. It just makes it feel like more of a mastering session, so to speak. Okay, the big thing that I took away from the Dave Kutch mastering session, or just overall, is using, duplicating tracks with the same amount of plugins that I'm using on my mastering chain. So if I've got a certain set of plugins that I'm using to create the sonic landscape of the master, but yet the song itself is very dynamic. So I have maybe like an artist I have two artists on this song. So the artist one is taking care of verse one, and then verse two has another artist. So they have another timbre, another shine to the track. I will take verse two and put it in the next track here, copy the same plugins here, but yet then alter the plugins to benefit that specific section. So instead of just putting this blanket mastering statement on the whole overall 2-track, I'm dynamically responding to the track in certain different areas. So for instance, in my pre-chorus here, I can literally just chop this up and just lower the gain a little bit or raise it, even to just bring a little bit more balance gain-wise. And if I wanted this section to have a different set of plugins, I can do that by maybe just creating another track and dragging that down and say, you know what? The compression for here is acting a little too much. Now, obviously you can automate. You can go in there and automate the compression. But again, since this is a brand new session, I don't have to worry about like CPU stuff. And in my other session, if I had the mixing and mastering going on at the same time, I might already start capping my CPU with my plugins. So instead of automating, I think it's just easier for me to just create another track, bring that in there, and then give this another set of, taste with my plugin choices that I might want to color this up, but yet that would make sense in the whole overall grand scheme of mastering this track. I hope that makes sense. And that's what I'm doing here. So I'm just basically adding the same amount of plugins, so you're keeping the same sonic landscape, but yet changing a couple of the settings to cater to that unique place here. I am doing a combination of both, where I am automating certain things. So for certain sections, I'm going to automate the threshold on this ozone limiter here. And this gets changed here so that I can bring the threshold of the maximizer a little bit during the bridge, just to kind of balance the overall dynamics out. And both of these tracks are set at 0. I'm not doing any volume change here. And they're going to my master fader here, which is handling a lot of my metering. So I'll keep this meter by the BX meter by Brainworks. That's kind of I like this meter. It's my go-to. And I'm just using this to gauge more or less my dynamic range. So at this stage, I'm mastering without being hung up on the numbers of what's the LUFS delivery rate, right? How loud should I get this? I go with the feeling of, am I sucking the life away from my master? Am I really squeezing this too much where it's distorting? So let me give you an example here. I'm gonna play a little bit. I can't believe I've gone this long without actually playing anything. But here's a track here, and I'll just take it from the chorus of the song. So the blue part here is my dynamic range. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of seeing how loud I can get this without compromising the overall dynamics. Is the kick and the bass relationship between those two, are they going to distort? Am I losing that? And so I just give this as much as I can until it gets to the moment where I'm like, I don't really like what it's doing to the sound of this track. See, that just squeezed the dynamic range. Those little two blocks, the two little sliders there, they shrunk. So that means there's less dynamic range, or the crest factor there, right? So it's really just squashing everything. It will give you the perceived volume, right? It might seem like it's a lot louder, but reality is I'm just like chopping everything and just squeezing that, and I'm losing dynamic range. And then knowing that streaming platforms are going to bring this down to 12, 14 LUFSs or whatever, but I'm not starting with that number. I just start with what feels good. Then I find a sweet spot, and then I just, for curiosity's sake, see, well, what number is this, or how loud really is this? And I'll use a plugin like the Ulean here to give me just more of that number and that information. So I like where it's at. Loudness wise, I like where I've got everything sitting. And then I'm just kind of gauging more or less, okay, right now it's like almost like -8, -9 LUFS. So I know by default that a Spotify, YouTube, and you can use websites like loudness penalty meter, and that website will automatically tell you by how much decibels are you going over the threshold of that streaming service. So in this case, they might bring it 5 to 6 dB lower. So now the question is, well, do I want to keep my dynamics or do I like it the way it is? I like it the way it is, and I'm just going to print it like that. So I'm saying all this as to not treat the mastering process strictly linear. Like, be dynamic with your approach when it comes to mastering your music. Keep it, be flexible with the idea of, hey, maybe this section might need to be treated a little bit different so that it transitions well, or some things are a bit out of control here, and I want to tweak that. That can really be beneficial. And like I said, starting your mastering process in another session, exported the whole mix, could be really beneficial to doing that. So I don't know, this was something that really, it kind of like my light bulb went on. It was really helpful for me. It was beneficial for me. I hope it was for you. I know I did a lot of rambling here, but if you want to walk through on the actual overall mastering process, then I would encourage you to check out my mixing mastering course that I have available at beatacademy.com, as well as a bunch of free resources that I have there already. So just go ahead and visit the site, beatacademy.com. I also have a free sample pack loaded with construction kits, loops, one-shots, and those are absolutely yours free. It works on any DAW. Visit beatacademy.com/pack to download that. And there's a couple amazing free courses available for you at the site as well. So feel free to dive into that. And I hope this video was encouraging, inspiring in any way. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe so you can stay up to date with upcoming videos. Let me know in the comment section if this was helpful or if this had the same response to you. If some light bulbs went on, let me know. And also, what would you like to see me do in upcoming videos? Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.